prices are soaring, and now the White House wants to investigate whether Americans are the victims of price gouging. Here's President Obama during a town hall meeting on Thursday.
Every time gas prices go up like this, like clockwork, suddenly politicians look around and they discover high gas prices. And they're shocked. And they get in front of TV and they say, you know, we've got a 3-point plan to bring gas down to $2 a gallon. And then when gas prices go down, nothing ever happens. The Attorney General is putting together a team whose job it is to root out any cases of fraud or manipulation in the oil markets that might affect gas prices. And that includes the role of traders and speculators. We're going to make sure that nobody's taking advantage of American consumers for their own short-term gain.
So should the administration be pointing fingers or addressing the bigger issue? Let's debate. Lars Larson, syndicated radio host, joins us along with Bernard Whitman, Democratic strategist and pollster for former President Bill Clinton. Gentlemen, welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Good morning.
All right, Lars, what's wrong with investigating to make sure that Americans aren't getting ripped off?
It's eyewash. That's what's wrong with it. You know, Senator Ron Wyden used to do this about every year. Every time gas prices would go up, he'd announce an investigation. It won't come to any conclusions. The fact is, this is supply and demand. Virtually every commodity on planet Earth is up. Steel, sugar, oil. And there's a reason that oil's up. Fear is a big part of it because of what's going on in the Middle East. But the fact is, the thing that will really address oil prices is drilling for more oil, changing EPA regulations, and actually encouraging American companies to produce more of it and refine more of it. This is a bunch of baloney, and the president knows it. You know, last week the president was warning us about politicians who claim that they're going to solve America's problems by going after fraud, waste, and abuse. He was talking about the federal budget, but I think he ended up warning us about him. This is the same kind of baloney, and it isn't going to sell with Americans. We're smarter than that.
All right, Bernard, I got to ask you, I know you'll want to respond to a lot of that, but in addition, the president has admitted that gas prices aren't good for him. They don't help with his polling, and when the economy is doing bad, Americans are mad at usually whoever is in the White House. It doesn't hurt to launch an investigation.
Shannon, high gas prices aren't good for anyone except the oil companies. And the truth is that the American people expect their president to protect them from all sorts of ills, whether they be terrorism, economic upheaval, or massive fraud. And the American people are rightly angered, frustrated, and very concerned about what's going on. And it's entirely right and appropriate for the federal government to be investigating the possibility of oil price manipulation. I mean, gas prices have gone up 29 cents in 29 days. They're pushing $4, $4.50 a gallon in many parts of the country. And I think it's our responsibility to ensure that there is, in fact, no fraud going on. Every single time in recent years that oil prices have spiked, we have seen oil companies make record profits. In 2008, in the midst of a massive economic upheaval, ExxonMobil posted record profits, earning almost $12 billion in the fourth quarter alone. So I think it's entirely appropriate that the government take a look at this. And I'm not suggesting necessarily that anything illegal is going on, but record profits at a time of economic malaise is certainly, if not illegal, immoral.
Is it, Lars? Making money is immoral?
No, it's not immoral. The average return for the oil companies is about an 8% return on investment. The fact is, most Americans know an 8% return for a company that's involved in a very risky business where things change on a day-to-day basis is not an outrageous return. No matter how many billions it ends up being, look at the percentages instead. And what the president seems to be suggesting is a rap that even some of my conservative colleagues have pushed, and that is that speculators are running the price up. Well, we'd have to have a lot of idiot speculators, because for every guy who wants to sell oil futures at 170 a barrel when they're at 150 now, is going to have to find a buyer who's willing to pay 170. And most of them have memories long enough to go back 3 or 4 years and remember that oil prices spiked to 150 and then they fell back down. So any speculator who buys at 170 when the prices go back down to 130 or 120 when things in the Middle East calm down is going to lose his shirt and every dollar that his investors gave him. So where is the president suggesting there's evidence that speculation has run this up? Every seller has to have a buyer for that to happen.
And Bernard, I mean, if it's not about something illegal, you said it could be about profits, but how do you convince the American people that profiting is bad? I mean, is that the job the president has to do when it comes to these gas prices?
No, the point isn't that the profiting is bad. The point is there is ripe opportunity here for oil companies and traders to take advantage of the most vulnerable people in America that rely on gas and don't have the extra income to be able to put it into their tank. The fact is, recent history shows bad behavior is rampant in this industry. The federal government just yesterday announced a $30 million fine against Brian Hunter, a trader who a few years back tried to manipulate the natural gas market. So I think it is entirely appropriate to take a look at this. It's not suggesting that there's necessary wrongdoing going on, but if there is in fact no price gouging, no collusion, no fraud, then the oil industry and the energy sector and Wall Street in general should welcome this inquiry with open arms because they have nothing to hide.
Lars?
Shannon, let me tell you what would really fix this. The president's moratorium in the Gulf alone is costing this country about $40 million a day in lost revenues. The fact is that once the moratorium was over, the Obama administration did not quickly go out to say, let's get drilling going in the Gulf again. A lot of the platforms simply left our part of the planet and went elsewhere because America's not drilling. Meanwhile, the president and his administration are loaning money to Brazil so they can drill and to other countries so that they can build huge new refineries, but we're not doing that here. If anything, we're crippling the ability of our oil industry to supply a product that Americans depend on. The fact is that it's important for people to get to work, and if you say it's taking advantage of them to pay the cost of barrel oil, which is the same price everywhere on planet Earth, the president must think that these speculators have a worldwide conspiracy. Great. Barack Obama and his worldwide conspiracy theory. It's a bunch of political eyewash designed to benefit him politically and divert attention from the real problem. We need more oil. We should be drilling for it right now.
You know, Lars, maybe you can afford $5 a gallon, but most of America can't, number one. And number two, the lack of oversight and the lack of, excuse me, sir, I let you finish. Please let me finish. The lack of oversight and the lack of regulation in the oil industry led to the despoliation of the Gulf. I think it's entirely appropriate that the administration take a careful look at what's going on here to make sure that we don't fall victim to gouging.
All right, gentlemen, Bernard and Lars, thank you both. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.